everybody, so we're going to have a look at addresses this morning. So now we've had a look at a waggle, we've looked at vocabulary, we're now going to look at, in order to send a letter we need an address. So we're going to really break down the address so that we can see why we need to have an address. So on the waggle, first of all I want you to have a look, where is the address? What do you know an address is? Where is the waggle? So see if you can pause the video now. Can you identify where the address is? How do you know it's an address if you do know? If you don't, maybe you could have a guess as to where the address will be. Notice that the address is in the top right hand corner, so when we're actually writing a letter on the actual letter part we always write it in the top right hand corner, and we do it as close to the edge as possible. So you can see I haven't started every new line underneath exactly underneath each other. It's going all the way up to the margin or to the outside of the piece of paper. So for example on this one, the Old Vine Tree, 3 Coach Road, Sandal, Wakefield, WF3 2PT is the address of where the grandma and granddad, or whoever you are writing to, that is where they live. Now you might see something that looks like this and it's in the middle. Does anybody know when we would use an address like this and where you would see it? So have a pause the video now, think about when you've seen it set up in this way, and then play it once you've had a go at that. So you should have said that you'll have seen this on the front of an envelope. So if your letter once you've wrote your letter or you've wrote something, you will then write the address of where it's going to on the front of an envelope before posting it, and then it will get sent to that address. So we're going to break down now this address, and we're going to see what each part of an address actually is used for and how it is representing where somebody lives. So if we have a look, the Glyn Nursing Home, it's all colour coordinated to be able to make it clearer so you can see. So the Glyn Nursing Home, this is the name of the house. The name of the house, it will always come first. Some people don't have a name of their house, so you might not necessarily always have one, but obviously if you do have one, then you could put that first. Then the second part is the house number. So for example on this, the house number is 167A. And then after that, it's the name of the road that the house is on. So for example, the Glyn is on Bradford Road. Underneath that, we put the name of the village. So the Glyn is in Renthorpe, so we would put Renthorpe next. And then we would put the name of the city or the town that the village is within. So the town or the city, obviously for us, is going to be Wakefield, as it's where the Glyn is. And finally at the bottom we have what we call a postcode. Now the postcode tells you exactly, locates it exactly. The WF stands for Wakefield, so Wake is for the W and Field is for the F. The one shows that the house is nearest to the centre of Wakefield, and then the 2AS locates the house area, so where exactly that house is in that area. So when we're looking at the postcode, the WF stands for Wakefield. Now areas are different, but for example with Wakefield generally, and for other areas, the closer you are to the centre the smaller your number would be. So if you're right in the centre of Wakefield, your postcode would start WF1. If you move further away from the centre it will be WF2. If you're even further away it's WF3, and if you're even further it will be WF4. So it depends how far from the centre. Now not all areas are like this, but this is just an example to show how the start of your postcode changes, because it's where you are in compared to the centre of Wakefield, for example on this one. So now I'd like you to have a go at finding your home address. If you aren't sure of your home address, or if you're not working, if you're not with your parents to ask, you could just research any address on the internet to come up with an address of somewhere. So you could say, for example, I don't even mind if you want to use the Glyn. It might be nice to do something different just so you're not doing the same as me. But for example, if you know that there is Tilly Bob's, in Renthorpe, which is obviously the sandwich shop, you could search for the address of that and you could use that as your address if you don't know what your address is. Then I'd like you to break it down just as I've just done to show which part of the address stands for. Okay, so now you've had a go at doing that, and now I'd like you to have a look at these addresses. So how are they the same? How are they different? Why are they different? Thinking about what we've already previously discussed. And I'd like to have a think of this now, and then pause the video and we'll have a look at this, and then play it once you've had a look. So the top address is at the top right of the letter. So this is always the top right corner if you're actually writing the letter. Whereas at the bottom address is on the front of an envelope, and it always sits in the middle of the envelope, and each line is slightly moved forward. So as you can see, every starting word on each line is slightly in front of the one above, so it's almost on like a diagonal moving down. So that would be how we would write that. Now, what else do you notice on this envelope? So we know that we've just discussed that there's the address on there, but what else do you notice? Have a pause of the video, have a think, what can you see? Do you know what it is? And then play it and we'll see if you've got the same answer as what I have. So on an envelope, you have to pay to post this. So when you actually send your letter, you have to pay. And in order for you to do that, you pay for a stamp. Now you can either have a first class stamp or a second class stamp, and first class stamps are slightly more expensive than a second hand stamp. Now the reason for this is a first class stamp, which usually looks like this above. Sometimes the colours can change, but it will always say first on it. And this is because it has been slightly more expensive because it will be delivered the next day, so the next working day. So people work Monday to Friday usually, and that's what they class as a working day. So if it's the next working day, if it was Tuesday today and you posted it on a Tuesday, your letter would be received by whoever you're sending it to on the Wednesday. Whereas a second class stamp will take a couple of days, so 2 or 3 working days. So if you were to send it on Monday, it wouldn't get to the person you're sending it to till about Wednesday, Thursday time. Now when it gets to a weekend, if you send it on a Friday and it was taking 2 to 3 days, this would not include the weekend. It might include Saturday, but it would not include Sunday. So you have to, if you want it to get there in a specific time, this is when you decide whether you want a first class or a second class stamp. So your task is going to be think about where you want to send your letter to. So who are you going to be writing your letter to? Is it going to be your grandparents? Is it going to be your friends? Is it going to be, it could be you write to Mrs. Swinburne at school. So I'd like you to have a think about your letter and who you're going to write it to. And then you are going to need to find out this address. Now, if you've got a parent there to help you, this will be perfect. If you've not got a parent there at this time, you can actually try and search it. If you know the name of your house or the name of your or number of your grandparents' house, you can actually search that on the internet and it will pop up the address. But if you are struggling, then you can obviously you won't be able to do this part until an adult or someone is around to help you find the address. So then I'd like you to practice writing this address as it would be on a letter, so just as I've done below, and on the front of an envelope, because when you do, if you are going to post your letters, you will obviously need to have 2 different addresses in different formats and different setups. Now I don't mind if you can't access an address for now, you can just use mine underneath just to have a practice at writing it to make sure that they look accurate.